We have the move sets for the new Pokemon coming in Pokemon Unite in September. I want to go through them one by one. So first we have Dodrio. He is the next speedster. Hi trainers, I'm Teeds. This is Nuts. Huge shout out to Phil or Umis. Phil is another YouTuber on Pokemon Unite as well. I will leave his links down below. He put all of this together. It took him a lot of time, so please feel free to check out his channel. Thank you so much to Phil for putting this all together to make it very easy and accessible for the Pokemon Unite community. Okay, first we have Dodrio, who's been released on the 15th of September. Look at Dodrio. Look at this little cute Pokemon, so cute. Can't wait to see how it runs. For the question of the day, let in the comments down below what you think of Dodrio. Do you think it'll be OP or balanced or strong based on what we know? And what moves are you thinking of picking up on Dodrio? I'd love to read your comments down below. I feel like I'm at school watching a whole presentation. Oh my god, there's transitions. Well, I'll move my head in a second. Okay, first we have its passive runaway plus basic attack enhanced auto. The passive runaway, the Pokemon's movement speed increases when opposing Pokemon are nearby. While the Pokemon is moving, its spirit gauge charges. When its spirit gauge is full, the Pokemon starts running with increased movement speed. If the Pokemon's movement speed decreases below a set speed, the spirit gauge will rapidly deplete. When Dodrio scores a goal, it evenly divides its collected Aeos energy into 2 portions and deposits them into the goal zone one at a time. After Dodrio evolves into Dodrio, when it scores a goal, it evenly divides its collected Aeos energy into 3 portions and deposits them into the goal one at a time. I'm just gonna move myself down. Basic attack becomes a boosted attack with every 3rd attack, dealing consecutive blows with the user's heads. If the user dash gauge is full and it hits an opposing Pokemon with a basic attack, the user's moves cooldowns are reduced. Also, when the user's dash gauge is full, its basic attacks will have it charge in the direction it's moving and consume all of the dash gauge. Okay, first let's go through Runaway. So with Runaway, you will have increased movement speed as long as your spirit gauge is full. But the thing that I find so interesting is the scoring goal thing. So Dodrio splits up its goals, which means that it can score faster, which means as Dodrio and Dodrio, in my opinion, at the end of the game, if you are losing and you put some points into the enemy goal zone, I'm still down here, so it looks so weird. I strongly recommend Dodrio to be the one that scores these points, because the less points you have, the faster you score, and you want to try and get as many points in as you can to try and overtake the enemy, especially when it's double scoring. I think double scoring is saying in Pokemon Unite after Rayquaza. I don't remember if that changed, but I think it is. If it has changed, then it's still important for Dodrio to do it because Dodrio can get these points in faster. So the fact that Dodrio can score this many points into 3 portions, so it splits them up, which means you'll have faster scoring each time, which means you can use Dodrio strategically in a way to try and overtake the enemy. That is really cool. So unique. I never thought of a Pokemon doing this, so I'm very, very excited to see how this is going to work. But that is the strat I would use with Dodrio. I would recommend Dodrio being the one to score these points in at the end of the game if you need to overtake the enemy. But there's also something that's very important to note, and that is overcapping. So Dodrio is probably not great for overcapping because from what I understand, if it is split up, so let's just say, I don't know, let's just say you had 40 points and it's split into like half each. So you have like 20-20, but the goal zone is like 19 points, because then you would just overcap the goal zone by 1, and that is just a waste in my opinion. You want to try and get as many points as you can in the goal zone. So if it works how I'm thinking it does, Dodrio is great for like getting as many points as you can at the end, but is horrible for overcapping. Like, it's bad. At the end, when there's double scoring and stuff, Dodrio is also great for like putting the points in first on a 100/100 goal zone before your teammates do, because then you can get even more points in. Such an interesting mechanic. Very interesting. And the basic attack is pretty straightforward, but yeah, you get cooldown reduction as long as your dash gauge is full and it hits the enemy Pokemon with it. So it looks like you want to really focus on your dash gauge here as well, because it just has a bunch of benefits that you get for Dodrio. That's really interesting. Now we have Peck. So with Peck, has the user move forward while jabbing with its beaks. When the spirit gauge is full, the user instead charges forward while jabbing with its beaks. Using this move fully consumes the sprint gauge. Again, seems like the gauge is just extremely important with Dodrio. So as long as you know that the sprint gauge is just very important to be aware of and to keep track of, then you should reap the benefits of most moves that use this. So this one gives you a charge. Very interesting. You can then upgrade this move into tri attack or trio tri, I don't know how to say, trio tri, triple attack, tree attack, has the user attack with its beaks in a cone in front of itself, dealing damage to opposing Pokemon and applying one of the following random effects: a decrease to attack and the damage over time for a set amount of time, a decrease to basic attack speed, or a decrease to movement speed. When the user's sprint gauge is full, the user instead shoots out 3 projectiles, 1 red, 1 yellow, and 1 blue in the designated direction. If a projectile hits an opposing Pokemon, the projectile deals damage and applies one of the aforementioned effects based on its color. After this move is used, the user's next basic attack deals additional damage and restores some of the user's health. A maximum of 2 uses can be kept in reserve for this move. So basically, TLDR, you get a random effect out of 3 effects using this move, which is attack and damage over time, decrease to basic attack speed, or a decrease to movement speed on the enemy Pokemon. It's all debuffs on the enemy Pokemon. If your sprint gauge is full, you can shoot out all 3 projectiles in the designated direction and it will deal damage and also apply one of the effects based on its color. And you also get a little bit of health regeneration as well. I'm assuming a little bit, not sure how much, it doesn't say how much, but this does give Dodrio some sustain and health. What I am guessing is that you'll do damage for all of the 3 projectiles that you shoot, maybe? And you also get one of the random effects as well based on the color, and you get to use it more than once. So it says a maximum of 2 uses can be kept in reserve for this move. So that means you can probably use it twice. Does that mean you get 2 debuffs on 1 enemy, or can you stack the debuffs on an enemy? Not exactly sure how this is going to work yet, but it's very interesting. I wonder how strong the debuff is going to be. So there's a lot going on in this move, and I'm very curious to see how it's going to be played out in the actual game. It's good to have health recovery as well as a speedster, in my opinion. I think speedsters are very squishy and can be taken down very easily from crowd control and stuff. So to have some sustain is probably pretty good for it. I don't know how much damage Dodrio is going to do yet, but very curious to see how this move is going to work specifically. I never thought of a debuff move like this before. That's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen this in Smite, at least. I could be wrong, but I don't think I've seen so many different debuffs I could apply to a Pokemon. I wonder if it stacks, if you can put more than 1 on a Pokemon, and I wonder how much how long it lasts, because you get cooldown reduction as well on the upgraded attack. Really interesting. The other move is Drill Peck. Drill Peck has the user move forward while striking with its sharp beaks multiple times, dealing damage to opposing Pokemon it hits. When the user's sprint gauge is full, the user dashes forward while striking with its sharp beaks multiple times, dealing damage to enemy Pokemon it hits and shoving them. Using this move fully consumes the sprint gauge. So this one is just straight up damage. This one if you want just straight up damage, then this is the move you go for over the other one. You just deal a bunch of damage to the enemy target, it seems. It looks like it deals a lot. I don't know how much it does, but by the picture, it looks like it deals a lot. You also get some crowd control on this if your sprint gauge is full. So you get some shoving, you get to shove them. Also a dash as well, so maybe some mobility on top of that. With Drill Peck Plus on the upgrade, it reduces this move's cooldown. Also, when this move hits opposing Pokemon, it restores a portion of the user's health based on the amount of damage dealt. Oh, so this one also has sustain. So this is really cool because as a speedster, you're probably very squishy, a very squishy Pokemon. You don't have a lot of defense, but you do a lot of damage. And this Pokemon seems like it has some health sustain, which is good for a speedster in my opinion, as long as it's balanced. So I'm happy with that part as well. Okay, moving on to the skill set 2. So we have Quick Attack for the starting move. Quick Attack has the user dash forward, increasing its movement speed for a short time and dealing damage to enemy Pokemon it hits. This move's cooldown is reduced if it hits opposing Pokemon. So you want to make sure you always hit opposing Pokemon unless you're trying to use this as an escape. But depending on how low the cooldown is, it'd be really interesting if you dash into the enemy, have the cooldown reduction, and then dash into them again, have the cooldown reduction. I wonder how often you can do this. I wonder how quick this is to come back up. One of the moves you can upgrade into is Agility. Removes all status conditions from the user and charges its sprint gauge. Afterwards, the user's movement speed increases for a short time and its sprint gauge charges faster. Hold on, this actually seems strong. I don't know how long the cooldown is, but you can use this to remove all of your status conditions, which means you can't be affected by crowd controls, sleep, freezes, things like that, knockups. And on a speedster that relies on because a big counter to speedsters, because they're so up close and personal, is crowd control. For me as a Gengar, if I had this as Gengar, it's basically full heal. You basically have full heal on Dodrio. Now imagine if you had this and full heal as well. It's probably is very silly. I don't know if it would work, but that is really interesting. Maybe you could just like constantly just like get out of crowd control, but full heal obviously has like a longer cooldown, and I don't know how long this one's going to be. But you also have increased movement speed as well, and your sprint gauge charges faster. Agility sounds really interesting to me. Like I really am very curious to see how this can be used depending on the cooldown of it. But I think it's a really good counter to the counter of speedsters. Really depends on how much damage Dodrio does as well, like if you can make use of this. When upgraded, this move is used, the sprint gauge becomes fully charged. Wow, so you also get a fully, so the sprint gauge seems very important on Dodrio, so you also get a full charge of the sprint gauge. I think I'm definitely going to pick this move up. I want to really try and I think Pokemon Unite is very crowd control heavy with not a lot of counters to it. This is why, like, at the time when Blissey was released, I personally thought that Blissey's Safeguard was insanely strong. I've always been a Safeguard stan on Blissey since it was released. I always found it so strong. It's just crowd control is such a huge thing, and Blissey was like a free full heal with a 9-second cooldown, which is crazy. And it's why Blissey to me is one of the scariest Pokemon to go against who has like a really good duo partner with them, because they can just keep that Pokemon constantly. As a Gengar main, it's so nice when Blissey uses it on me because I'm just like, wow, I'm unstoppable now. Then we have Jump Kick for the second skill. Has a user leap forward while kicking. If this move makes contact with an opposing Pokemon or obstacle, the user leaps over it and stomps the ground when it lands, dealing damage to opposing Pokemon in the area of effect and decreasing their movement speed for a short time. If this move makes contact with an opposing Pokemon or obstacle, the user's sprint gauge charges. If this move makes contact with an opposing Pokemon, its cooldown is reduced. So TLDR, contact with Pokemon or obstacle, sprint gauge charges, contact with opposing Pokemon, cooldown reduced, you leap over them, you deal damage, and you decrease their movement speed. And when upgraded, the user stomps the ground after leaping. Opposing Pokemon in the area effect are also unable to act. So you have crowd control on this as well once you upgrade this. Wow, so Dodrio just has a lot of debuffs. As well. That's insane. I wonder how short these cooldowns are. Dodrio also has like cooldown reduction on a lot of its moves too. And next we have is Dodrio's Unite move. So has the user run to the designated location. While running, the user is immune to hindrances. If the user makes contact with opposing Pokemon while running, it deals damage to them and throws them into the air. When this user arrives at the location, its attack increases for a short time and it is granted a shield. Also, its sprint gauge charges faster for a short time. So you can't stop Dodrio. Once it's running, you cannot stop. It's impossible to stop Dodrio in its Unite move when it's running. You get increased damage, you get a shield, your sprint gauge charges faster. So overall with Dodrio, you really want to make sure you have that sprint gauge charged because it gives you so many benefits to the other moves that use it. I'm really curious about agility so far with Dodrio because I'm such a huge fan of like countering crowd control and like immunities and stuff like that. Like in Smite, we had this relic which was like basically full heal and it was called Beads, and it just gave so much outplay potential. And it's what I'm hoping on Dodrio, that we'll have a lot of outplay potential instead of just like tanking the crowd control, blowing up and dying. But yeah, that is Dodrio's moves. I will have the next move sets out for the next Pokemon coming as well. Feel free to subscribe to the bell to be notified for that. Very happy that Dodrio is now officially announced by Pokemon Unite. Very excited for our next speedster, and I'm still laughing the fact that it's Dodrio. Don't mind that it's Dodrio, but it's so funny that after a year build up we have Dodrio, and I'm just living for how iconic that is. And liking the video would really help out my channel. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Trainers, let me know in the comments down below what you think about Dodrio, and I hope to catch you for the next one. Bye!